Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Body Wars. This time we're going to be taking a different approach to doing the video, something a little higher quality instead of me just rambling on holding the camera, not even at what I'm talking about. So, we are going to talk about, I guess we'll start with a recap. First episode we did between the three new modern American muscle cars, and the Camaro came out on top over the Shelby GT500 and the Dodge Challenger Hellcat. And last episode we did a muscle car shootout in a short slotted drag race, and the 67 Chevelle came out on top of that with flying colors. This time, however, there is not a specific vehicle theme to go along with this except for two things: stock and race. However, between these four cars, there is one obvious key that we're going for: OEM versus 3D printed. What I mean by OEM is that they're actual factory MiniZ bodies, as we are doing this racing on a MiniZ MR03. This is the brand new one that comes with the new controller. I believe this was I found this GT-R, that is our main car that homes this chassis. Yeah, it was about $130 on eBay. It's kind of slow, but then again, it's stock, and it also has the 6-tooth gear, so there's a lot of upgrades that can go along to this. However, the car is going to be kept stock. A couple other things this car has is also the stock tires. They're very slick and rather hard on the compound, so driving around the track was pretty slippery. But nothing more of that. Let's get into the bodies themselves. The first body that we're going to start with is the body that this chassis came with. This is a Nissan R35 GT-R in silver. This is one of the new models that just came out. This body might have been around for a while, however, but it was just released for this remote control. Now, there's a pristine difference between my cars and the MiniZ bodies, other than obvious high-end detail due to molding, and that is the fact that they are much thinner. If you were to notice around the wheel wells where the tire is able to turn in and out and also compress in, it is very thin, so then the tire does not catch on it. Now, this is something I cannot do with 3D printing, as that would be a little too much for the printer to try and do such tiny and thin detail with along the thickness of the rest of the car. However, this also makes the body pretty light. It comes in at 34 grams, which is the lightest body that we've ever had on the show so far. However, will it be something that the lightweight can handle on the track, or is something of a heavier nature something that's going to be needed? The next body that's up is going to be in the last car in our stock category. This is a 3D printed 06 Dodge Viper. This car is pretty low slung compared to the GT-R, which is more of a bulkier, heavy body style designed for all-wheel drive, but this Viper is definitely made for its front mid-engine V10. This body is also wider, as it is meant for a wider wheelbase and also a wider offset. I originally made this car for Ferrari 360 wheels, but I'm going to keep the GT-R wheels on it just for the sole fact that, well, I'd like the GT-R to also be drivable on it. This car comes in at 37 grams, which is pretty light on its own. It's the lightest 3D printed body I've ever had, so compared to our first event, this would also destroy the Camaro that went around the track. However, they are not the same body style. We'll see how this car compares in the race. Last up in our OEM category, we have our first race car, this Castrol NSX. This is a pretty light race car. Comes in at a nice 37 grams, so it is light. It is heavier than the GT-R, and it is just 1 gram lighter than the Viper. However, this car has quite the aero kit. It's got a massive spoiler, some decent canards, and a splitter on it. Now, while the ride height is pretty high, the front clip does lift it up a bit. However, the rear height is factory stock. So, the ride height of this body is not going to help its splitter and canard downforce. However, that spoiler, being as high as it is, might even do something with the center of gravity. However, we still have some aerodynamical play at hand. The last car that we have here is a Ferrari 512BB Outrun Edition. This car is inspired by the one that is in the Sega Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, the Outrun edition of it. This Ferrari was pretty fun to make, and also that spoiler being a separate piece was also very interesting to print, as it does have that secondary spoiler right underneath the main one. This body is indeed our heaviest body at 44 grams. Which definitely doesn't help its case, as we've learned from previous circuit racing events. However, this car also does have another quirk up its sleeve that most likely will hinder it. The lower deck to where the engine cover is that has the hood scoops. That part is right up against the motor mount, meaning there is literally no rear suspension give at all, so it's about as stiff as a board. Now this could, well, resulting in not the smoothest of tracks in the world, could result in the car being very bumpy and being very hard to control. This might also cause the car to oversteer, as the car will not be able to suck it up and will have to result in losing the extra energy through lack of tire grip. And these tires aren't the grippiest either on this surface, so we'll have to see how it pans out. And this right here is going to be the track that we will be racing on today. Definitely a different scene, as we are now outside rather than downstairs in the main area. So, as we walk over to our green tape starting line, we take a look at our main stretch. This track was very interesting to build, as trying to actually get these track pieces flat enough on grass was not very easy. It required a lot of getting down on the knees and putting the elbow underneath, the arm underneath the pieces, so then you can actually put the puzzle together. So we come down our stretch here. It's actually on a downhill. It's very light, but it's a downhill for sure, and you notice it when the RPMs in the motor come on. And then we go into one of our most difficult corners. It is a 1 square wide turn with that little added square there for understeer support, even though that's where the cars don't go. Then we come into this very sharp S. As we hit that and go around the cones, the cars do suffer some heavy understeer. Now the car is actually coming out of it and going up the hill. Now deal with some heavy oversteer as the cars are struggling for grip. And then it goes across the straightaway to go into this long turn. While this is another thin turn, problems for understeer or oversteer here will not be much of a problem, as the track will have flattened out and will be back to normal operating conditions. Then we come to our fastest corners. They have the most amount of squares there for width, so problems falling off here will not be an issue at all. And that was the track. Alright, as we come to a close, we actually had some very close competition, and I tried my best to drive on a track that I have never driven before. We literally just set that up and had the ideas like, you know what, let's make an episode. So, we did. Gonna start off with 4th place. Sadly, it is our Dodge Viper that is going to take the last place. Its fastest lap was 7.83 seconds. Still pretty good, however, it was the fact of its lightweight and lack of spoiler. Well, it was the only car that did not have a spoiler, unless you want to count its ducktail. And it struggled to move up that hill. It just suffered from oversteer very poorly, plus also with the fact that it's such a wider body made for a wider offset, it probably parachuted pretty bad and sucked up a lot of speed. Moving up into 3rd, we have our Nissan GT-R, the actual body that came on the chassis. This car while it did have a small spoiler, it was still a spoiler, and it put down just a little bit more downforce than the Viper was able to, so it was able to crawl up that hill just a little bit faster. And that time was 7.74 seconds, barely 0.1 faster. Now we move into our race car division, which apparently managed to put a huge distance in. They're still in the 7-second region, but 0.5 seconds is still huge, and coming in at 2nd place is our 512 Boxer Berlinetta. It got a 7.36 seconds, and even with that lack of rear suspension and how drifty it was able to slap down a pretty fast lap, and I'm pretty sure I was able to get it to climb up that hill very quickly and didn't have any drama in the turn after. And our winner for today is our Acura NSX. That aero kit came and helped, plus also it's lightweight. It was able to move really fast on that track. So not only did it have the lightweight speed to move through, especially on the downhill there and the uphill, it also had the aero kit to help it corner. So our winner is our Acura NSX. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new for more RC car content. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.